Welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. Um, I'm very interested in this because I actually like a lot of his positions and believe if he was shown the light of day by mainstream media, would have a real chance at doing something this election cycle, and that's RFK Jr. In spite of being sidelined by the mainstream media. He only really appears on Newsmax and Fox. He's now polling at 27%.
Yeah, that says a lot about his message. He's been marginalized by the DNC, he's been marginalized by mainstream media, and yet he's still pulling 27% of the vote.
And
This,
increasing because 2 weeks ago when we
yeah,
first were talking, he was at 19.
yeah, and
That's
I
a
mean,
problem. And but real quick, the New York Post in a op-ed piece stated that Biden would be stupid. No, well, that's probably the wrong choice of words, but because he already is stupid, Biden would be stupid to ignore JFK Jr. and his
no,
message.
and longtime mainstream Democrats are supporting him. RFK Jr. announced not too long ago that his campaign manager is Dennis Kucinich.
Yes. Who? Wait a second. Who? Some people, including myself, at times would think he was a kook, but um, I think he transcends that because that was 10 years ago. I think he always did, but I think his populist message works now. Your thoughts?
Well, it was a populist message, but also at the time, liberal media was all about him. He was the future of the progressive movement. Well, the progressive movement went much further to the left than he was, but he is now much more mainstream than those in the squad
Well, you have people from mental hospitals
who are
that
more
are more
mainstream than the
mainstream. So
squad.
let's just
Yes,
let's just be honest, okay?
but he has the experience in running the campaign. He actually has all of the abilities that people were criticizing RFK for not having. So RFK Jr. knows enough that he has weaknesses. He has to bring in smart people who will overcome those weaknesses, and he's doing that. The fact that he's now at 27%, if he gets to 35, I think mainstream Democrats and Democratic donors are going to start to force the DNC to change their minds on this debate.
That is the point, Dr. Lopkin. Well said, as always. Yes, I was actually thinking if he gets to a third, you can't just call this, because the media already just stamped him as labeled him, I should say, trying to marginalize him. 33, if he gets a third in the polls, which he's pretty much there, something's got to happen. And it shows how incredibly weak Biden is. I mean, just unbelievable.
And
And the reason why I say that is because RFK hasn't even been shown the light of day.
no, he hasn't. But one advantage that he has is in state by state polls. He's doing very well in Iowa and New Hampshire. Now, Biden and the DNC have pushed to remove Iowa and New Hampshire from the first in the country primaries. The states, however, are fighting back. If New Hampshire keeps their first in the country status, which by state law they have to, and Biden loses to him right out of the gate, that's going to change the primaries.
No question about it. There'll be blood in the water, and that's reminiscent of 1968. You're way too young for this, but that was McCarthy challenging Johnson, and McCarthy won in New Hampshire, or at least came close. And not too long after that, Johnson bowed out.
Yeah, and what Democrats don't seem to realize, nobody has done the polls yet putting Trump against RFK Jr., but from everything I've seen, RFK Jr. can pull moderate Democrats, can pull independents. All of the people that don't want to see Trump run again, RFK Jr. may be able to keep the White House Democratic.
I think he could beat Trump. I think
Yep.
he's sane. He's intellectual. I've heard him in a number of interviews. Um, you may not agree. I might not agree with everything, but he's someone I'd feel very comfortable with running this country. He's good on the border. He's good on economics. He's good on corporate welfare. I like him a lot, and I hope he gets the light of day. And that's what I hope so. Speaking of the light of day, someone that's always looking for the light of day, even though that door might have shut, is Crooked. Well, Crooked's now, as Trump says, has now been passed on to the Biden family. But Crooked Hillary never stops or never ceases to dig, put a dig in on Biden because she's just hoping against hope that she gets the nod as Biden continues to fail, said that Biden's age is an issue.
Yeah, she does not seem to realize that the Democrats have left her behind.
That's
And
what makes it more, and that's what makes it funnier and more pathetic.
it is
It's hysterical.
absolutely amazing to me. She made comments about Biden's age being a realistic concern because she's trying to get people to fall in behind her. But then in the same speech, in the same talk, she criticized Trump, saying if Trump is reelected, it would be the end of democracy. This is the woman that paid for the fake Steele dossier to gaslight the country. This is
And
the
put the
woman
country
that,
through, hold on, 3 years of torture,
yes,
ripping the country apart. She has no morals, no character of
But more
anything to
than
measure.
that, the fraudulent Steele dossier. She worked with the DNC to rig the 2016 primary against Bernie Sanders. She has done everything to undermine democracy, and she's saying that Trump is the threat. She
That's why
needs
she
to
has no
go away.
credibility, even in the Democratic Party. That train has left the station. Um, yes, and she screwed up her campaign. She could have won. She had the shittiest campaign in the history of America, and I think Democrats loathe her deep down. They blame her for the loss. I believe that's
I'm
true.
sure they do. And you know what? If it ended up being a rematch between Hillary and Trump, Trump would win again because Clinton cannot pull independents anymore. Even moderate Democrats, certainly she's not going to get any Republicans. So she cannot, she's going to force diehard Democrats to stay home.
No question about it. And the other thing, she can't talk about Trump's legal problems because she's got that 8 trillion pound elephant in the room, which is, you said, the Steele dossier. Uh, but Biden is definitely in trouble. His poll numbers suck. So I'm at 36% on key issues that people vote for, which obviously like the economy. 33% give him a, I don't know who these people are. They're probably, again, like in hospice or in rehab, but 33% give him a positive vote on the economy, and 24% believe that the economy is in good shape. And this is a killer. 4 out of 10 registered voters who were polled, not Republicans, believe that it would be warranted to initiate impeachment hearings or initiatives on him. Not good.
Yeah,
And in the polls,
no,
before I let you go, is that Trump last week, I don't know if these polls, 2 weeks ago, it was an ABC News poll that had Trump up by 7. And then just miraculously last week, he was down by 7. And now I think it's a Washington Post poll has Trump up by 4. Your thoughts? I don't think it's these are. I think the first one with the ABC poll was realistic.
well,
What do you think?
I think they're all realistic because they're all polling different parts of the electorate, but it's way too early to rely on any of these polls. But as for why Biden is doing so badly, people believe their own eyes, not what the administration is telling them. And worse, if they listen to Joe Biden, they are more and more convinced that he is not capable of finishing out this term, never mind getting
Okay, that
another
is
one.
the
In
point,
the
Dr. Lopkin, because you can bullshit till the cows come home. Even at the G7, he looked frail coming down the stairs, but there's even a worse one when he literally looks like he's out to lunch where he's going to stand. They actually had a little marker like you would in like first grade. Okay, Johnny, sit in the blue seat. I mean, so
over
you cannot hide that. It's impossible.
over the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks, I'm not sure when one of these events happened, but over the course of the last several weeks, Biden has made two speeches. One was to Marines, in which he said that his
Lied.
son Bo died in Iraq.
Hmm.
Even the very liberal Daily Beast was questioning why he's lying about that when everybody knows he died of brain cancer
At
at Walter
43 or
Reed,
something, yes.
yeah, at Walter Reed Hospital. Then he had another speech where he was just talking about what a great job Nancy Pelosi had done as Speaker of the House and how she was responsible for rescuing the economy during the Great Depression.
That's great.
It's like,
Well, she's old enough, let's be
I mean,
honest. But yeah,
yes,
there you go.
yes, they're old enough, so but it didn't happen.
Yeah, I know
It's
that. Yeah, no, I think that's the point, and I also I've said it on the show. We've talked about it. Is that it's things. There's going to be other issues. You know, the economy's getting worse. It could be international problems. They always are going to happen. He's going to have to be Johnny on the spot, and people demand. Okay, when things are going well, you could be, Coolidge just going fishing and all that kind of stuff. But when the shit hits the fan, people want answers. He is incapable, and I agree. Even if it doesn't happen, day in and day out, he's got to walk upstairs. He's got to talk, and he just looks. It's really actually pretty scary,
well,
and I think it
the
doesn't hold water.
it does. The White House staff not too long ago released what Joe Biden's schedule is. And he doesn't take any meetings or make any statements before 10 a.m. And he doesn't take any meetings or make any statements after 4 p.m. And they said, well, he's still working. It's like, no, anybody who knows anything about dementia knows 4 p.m. he's sunsetting. That's
Oh
why
yeah.
they don't let him meet
And they
with
might be
people.
changing his diapers.
Yeah.
There you go. In the political realm as well, we have Tim Scott announcing his intentions to be running for the presidency on the Republican side, and Oracle's Larry Ellison is pledging billions as we wait for DeSantis's announcements on Twitter. Many have argued that that's a slap in the face to Fox. Your thoughts?
I don't know if it's so much a slap in the face to Fox as it is a slap in the face to Donald Trump. We all know the problems that Trump had with Twitter. He was banned from Twitter. He has not come back, even though Elon Musk has said he's welcome. So I think DeSantis going on Twitter is more of him endorsing Elon Musk and what he's doing with Twitter and a slap in the face to Donald Trump more than it is to Fox.
And is it a quasi? Is it? I'm asking you a quasi because he hasn't officially done it. Endorsement uh, by Musk to DeSantis.
It does look that way,
It
although
does to
Musk
me.
Musk has specifically stated that he has not endorsed anyone yet. He wants to have everybody on the platform, and in fact, there was a Twitter debate just yesterday between AOC and Ted Cruz.
I love
And
that. You got to talk about that.
there,
He destroyed her.
yes, I mean, AOC was trying to paint the Republicans as a racist
Racist.
party,
Yep.
and Ted Cruz absolutely
Destroyed her.
demolished her by giving the actual historic record of how the Democrats have been racist, how they continue to be racist. And Elon Musk actually interjected at one point, stating This is the kind of debate we want on this
And
platform.
this is what the kind of debate that the country needs. And by the
Yes.
way, on an aside, is it time for the accreditation offices to kind of look closely or maybe just pull the plug on BU? If this is
Yeah,
one of their stellar grads, I think she got a, I believe it or not, Ripley's, believe it or not, I believe she has a degree in economics.
economics, yes. Boston University actually just got into trouble again for woke activities and shutting down free speech. So yes, I do believe their
It's a high
accreditation.
priced community college. There you
Yeah,
go for rich kids to
I mean they
screw
should
around in
be
Boston.
their accreditation should be taken away. But in all fairness, this is not unusual. We just had at Hunter College in New York this absolute wacko of an adjunct professor attacking pro life students who all they were doing was they had a table with brochures. They weren't saying anything. She could have just walked past them. Instead, she went up, started abusing them, and basically took everything on the table and tossed it down. This same adjunct
Very open minded.
professor yeah, this same adjunct professor who's now been fired yesterday took a machete to the throat of a New York Post reporter.
She looks very mentally stable to me.
Oh yeah, well
No signs of any
Hunter
problem, no.
Hunter has fired her, but because Hunter is part of the CUNY system, it's very likely that CUNY may just shuffle her to another campus.
Oh, you can bet on that. It's
Yeah.
not if, it's when. Amazing. Another stellar moment for higher education.
But
Um,
getting back to Tim Scott, um, not only has Larry Ellison pledged billions, but Tim Scott already has a 22, I'm not even sure if it's million or billion, I think it's $1 million fund put aside from when he ran for Senate. He is right now the best funded candidate.
could he win?
I think he can. I think especially if things start swinging towards Trump and DeSantis and Haley swing their support behind Tim Scott, I think he's got a real shot. And Trump is focusing his attacks on DeSantis.
Definitely.
He actually congratulated Tim Scott in getting into the race. So if people are looking for a Trump alternative, somebody who's actually got a track record but hasn't, you know, hasn't been being attacked, and let's face it, it's really going to show up the racism in the Democratic
Oh no,
Party
it's going to
because
be must
they've
see,
already. Yep.
must see TV, must see, because it always happens. It shows their true racist orientations. Yes, that's what they go for.
So yeah, I think there's an interest. I would personally love to see the November 24 election come down to Tim Scott and RFK Jr.
Yeah, that would be something to see. I think it'd be a good, healthy thing for America. Um, and we look at things that are maybe not so healthy. That is the possibility of America defaulting. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this we're getting closer and closer,
And
and
let me interject
Biden
one
is.
thing: 59% of people, or not 59? Yes, I think it is 59. Uh, Basically, would blame Biden as right now we speak.
Well, yeah, it is. Biden keeps saying, "Well, he'll take the blame, but he's blameless." It's like,
Of
no,
course,
he's not. He's
he's
not blameless.
brainless, not
The the
blameless.
yes,
There you go.
the Republicans passed a very reasonable debt limit bill. The Senate could have picked it up and pushed it through, and they actually. If they could get it past the a Democratic filibuster, they do have the votes to get it through the Senate. But Joe Biden doesn't want to cut government spending. Guess what? The proposal that is put forward cuts spending to 2022 levels. It's not like it's cutting it by that much. What Biden and the Democrats keep lying about, and the Washington Post actually gave Biden bottomless Pinocchios because he keeps repeating the lie, is he keeps saying, well, he's already cut the deficit. No, he raised the deficit to tremendous amounts. He cut the deficit from his own ridiculous spending
And
position.
no
It's
one
still not
believes,
lower.
no one believes that he cut the deficit, unless you're
Yeah,
really the uber uninformed voter. No one
and
believes that shit. You look at the numbers.
let's
Not look at the numbers
let's
in
put
the economy. Look
right,
at the polling numbers. Everyone knows what's going on.
right. And let's put this in the context that it deserves to be. The Democrats keep saying, well, Republicans should pass a clean debt limit bill because we committed to paying those bills and we have to pay them. And yes, we do have to pay them. But what the Democrats are ignoring is that what they want to do is they have maxed out the country's credit cards. And rather than dealing with the spending, they want to take out more credit cards so they can keep their ridiculous spending levels. The Republicans aren't blameless in this. The
No, not at
spending
all.
level, one of the worst budgets I ever saw was the one the Democratic Congress uh, and pushed through when Trump was president, and Trump agreed with it. He let it go through. So the Republicans are not blameless with this ridiculous spending. But we finally have a group of people who are willing to say enough is enough. And this is not the first time this has happened. Republicans forced Democrats to cut spending in order to get the credit limit raised under Obama, and Obama negotiated in good faith and agreed to cut spending. And now the left wing of the Democratic Party is actually blaming Obama for this problem, saying, oh, well, he shouldn't have negotiated. He gave away too much and now it's empowering the Republicans. No, I don't like a lot of what Obama did. This he did right. He did his job, and the left doesn't like it.
Agreed 100%. Still in the political realm of things, New York judge scheduled with ridiculous charges, scheduled the trial just weeks after, I'm sorry, Super Tuesday with Trump, that is. And then the Trump team seeks a meeting with Garland as possible indictments are looming in the Key Largo
The
raid. Your thoughts?
Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago, my
Yes.
friend. Yeah, hello.
Yeah, we knew this was a political witch hunt that Alvin Bragg was on. The judge has stated in other cases in other arenas that he is anti-Trump. The fact that he scheduled that, I mean, remember, a defendant actually has the right to a speedy trial. Putting the first trial date just after Super Tuesday, that's as political a move as you
No,
get.
it was purely by chance. And I
Yeah,
have a bridge to sell you. There you go.
exactly.
Yes.
Uh,
So, but I think this is good for Trump because it exposes the hypocrisy. I mean, come on.
It
And
does
the charges are ridiculous anyway.
it does expose the hypocrisy. And let's not forget that immediately after the indictment, Trump's poll numbers went up. Trump's donations went up. If he hasn't clinched the nomination by Super Tuesday, this might clinch it for him.
I think that is a well done analysis. You are correct because if they were legitimate charges, it would have been a huge problem. But people do have the brains, even if the America is becoming dumber and dumber as we speak, to know that this is a joke. Especially Alvin Bragg. I mean, come on, the guy's totally a political hack and a arm of let's just say our buddy Soros.
Yes.
Um, Speaking of political hacks, the once proud NAACP is sending out a warning. Maybe you can help me out because I have no idea what this.
Uh,
I mean, who started this? What this means? I mean, Philadelphia, I get it. Yeah, you better be careful. Florida, what do you like? Do you get a problem with Disneyland? I mean, really? So talk about this.
yeah, the NAACP
Once
issue
proud organization,
yes,
yes.
issued a travel advisory saying blacks need to be careful and they shouldn't travel to Florida because they're not respected there and their civil rights are not respected there. Now, the big thing to remember about this is that the president of the NAACP lives in Tampa, Florida, and he's
Hmm.
not moving. Now,
Oh boy,
let's
credibility gap there. Hello,
yeah,
McFly. Yes.
let's let's put a couple of facts into play. Per capita, Florida has more African American owned businesses than any state in the United States. Black students in the Florida school systems do better on standardized tests than the national average, and certainly better than liberal cities like New York, Chicago, and all of California, quite frankly. This is a political ploy because the NAACP has not been relevant lately.
That
So
is
they are
correct. No, that's
trying.
what you nailed it. It's the little boy crying wolf. They haven't done shit in like I don't even remember when they've done anything of relevancy. Again, this is not 1965, so they're just trying to do their 15 minutes
No,
of fame, as Andy Warhol would once said.
well, I think it's more than the 15 minutes of fame. The NAACP has the same problem that the Democratic Party has. If African Americans do well without government support, if they start businesses, if they succeed economically, the NAACP becomes irrelevant. So they don't really want African Americans to do well on their
Doesn't
own.
that also
They want them
mirror
to.
the attitude of the Democratic Party?
Yes, the
I think it does.
Democrats do the same thing. They don't want minorities to achieve on their own. They've spent decades convincing minorities that they've been victims, and
And they're
only the
hapless without
Democratic.
government help.
Yes, and only the Democratic Party can save them. And of course, as we mentioned earlier on Twitter, Ted Cruz blew this away because it was the Republicans that voted for civil rights, not the Democrats. It was the Democrats that founded the KKK.
I would agree, and I think in closing on that, at least I'm saying in this on this issue, I believe that the democratic ideology, self-serving as it is, that blacks cannot succeed without government help, is the quintessential version of racism.
It really is, and African Americans are starting to see it. When
Let's
Joe
hope.
Biden took office, he had an 80% approval rating among African Americans. Now in the last poll, 51%. African Americans are fleeing the Democratic Party because they're saying no. We can succeed without you. We have succeeded without you. Stop trying to tell our kids that they're victims.
Agreed. And by one more note about Florida and African Americans, they have a higher Florida has a higher percentage of African Americans residing in their state than African Americans overall in the United States. So if it's such a racist, horrible place, why is there a higher percentage
And
of blacks in Florida than the rest of the United States?
and and the
We'll get back
African
to that.
American pop and the African American population has been moving there. There have been more African Americans moving to Florida in the last 3 years than any other state.
Can I
And
do a
in the last
conspiracy theory for a
wait,
second?
in
Oh,
the
go ahead.
in the last gubernatorial election, the percentage of African Americans that voted for Ron DeSantis went up.
Could it also be that um, Florida gives others and obviously African Americans the opportunity to thrive on their own and is more and more African Americans do that in the state of Florida and other red states. Again, to our previous conversation, all of a sudden the gig's up. So you got to prevent that from happening if you're the Democrats. That's all you got.
Oh, absolutely. Again, minorities are fleeing the Democratic Party because they've seen that this they're not doing anything for them. They talk, "Oh, we're going to help you," but they never do.
Because they want them permanently on the reservation, and that is by choice,
Yes.
not by accident. Um, Switching gears on the athletic front, and we'll tie into politics in a second. The A's have reached a tentative deal with Vegas, so both the Raiders and the Oakland A's are out of Oakland. Why wouldn't you want to play in beautiful Oakland with an antiquated field, stadium, Murphy Field, I believe it's called, and lovely Oakland? Why wouldn't you want to stay, Dr. Lopkin? I don't understand that. Really, maybe you can help me out and our listeners.
At this point, there's no reason for anybody to be staying in the Bay Area. Not just Oakland, but San Francisco. It has turned into a shithole. And I mean that literally. They
Yeah,
have a problem with human feces on the streets. This is not a city that is safe anymore. Oakland has never been, particularly safe. There's always been problems with Oakland, but it has gotten so bad. And instead of the state of California saying, you know what, let's fix the problem and let's, take action. No, they're talking about reparations. They're talking about banning gas stoves. They're getting themselves millions and millions of dollars in debt after they were bailed out by the American Rescue Plan.
and chasing more and more businesses
Yes,
into red states. You can't leave there soon enough. It's sad because it was once the incubator, just like Mr. Wonderful said from Shark Tank, Boston, California, the Silicon, where he put all his investments. Now that's the last place he'll go. Mr.
yes.
Wonderful himself.
It- and I mean, I think the statistic that says the most about it is that U-Haul can't keep their dealership stocked with moving vans because people are moving out of the state. They return the vans to the state that they moved to, and U-Haul is having a problem keeping moving vans in California because people are leaving, businesses are leaving, sports teams are leaving. And as all of these folks leave, the tax base goes with them.
Hopefully
California,
Newsom will go with them too,
hopefully so, but
maybe to another planet.
unless they change their way, there are a number of economists who have said California is in a death spiral. And unless they take drastic measures, they may not be able to pull out of it.
Oh well. Um, and speaking of sports, tying back into the political arena, go woke and go broke. We have Budweiser continuing its. I get cynical. I thought, okay, it might last, a little while. No, it's over a month, and their sales are still in the shitter. But then you have, of course, getting back to California, the LA Dodgers alienating families. I mean, the the ridiculousness of this, the hubris of this. Baseball's a family game. You want to go there and enjoy, just like Disney, right? The great movies of yesteryear. So what are they going to do? It ties into gay pride, which is fine, but it's this whack job fringe, anti-Catholic, anti-family sect. And they originally said, "Now you may not want to, we may not allow this." Now they're allowing it. Good job, LA Dodgers, correct? And can you imagine being at that game with people? You think they're not going to be booing this shit?
Yeah, it's another case. The Dodgers have forgotten who their target market is, the same way Bud Light did. And by the way, nobody expected the Bud Light boycott to have this big an
No,
impact.
exactly.
But Anheuser-Busch has actually announced, so that their wholesalers don't suffer, they will be buying back the expired Bud Light that the wholesalers can't sell. And it is absolutely amazing how you put these things into, you want to take a stand on an issue, you better if you're a business, you better make sure it's an issue that your target market agrees with and wants to see. The Dodgers have forgotten that. Target has forgotten that. Disney has forgotten that. And
But their stockholders have not.
no, their shareholders have not forgotten this. Their shareholders are pissed at these companies. And there was a very interesting story on CNN. And I will preface this by saying that CNN is owned by Warner Discovery, which is a competitor of Disney. So you may want to take that into consideration. But the report on CNN was that Disney's woke activities have less to do with any political agenda from the company and more to do that they're trying to distract people from the fact that their businesses are failing.
Doesn't surprise me. Well, what does surprise me is that, not really, is that it seems like Carnivore Bites and CNN are going in the wrong direction. Opposite directions, aren't they?
Yeah, CNN has been dropping more and more. Um, we'll see what happens. Warner Brothers Discovery just launched their new streaming app, Max, which prominently features CNN originals as a hub on there. We'll see what happens. Something that they did right is they have documentaries from CNN going back to the past when CNN did these original documentaries very well. So we'll see what happens. But they've already said they're going to be hosting more Republican events. They're going to be bringing Republicans onto the network because they want to be the network that covers both sides. And the left is furious at them. How dare you cover both sides of an issue?
God forbid in America giving two sides to an argument. That's, oh, I'm sorry, that is American. However, Carnivore Bites is going in the other direction, isn't it?
We're gaining more and more listeners, and of course we want to know what you think. You can contact us. Go to xvadio.com/connect. Let us know what you think. You can also get us through the Carnivore Radio page on Facebook. And of course, you can listen to every episode of Carnivore Bites at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech.
Thank you, Dr. Lopkin. Thank our listeners. We will not be back next week. Am I correct in that, Dr. Lopkin?
That's correct. We'll be taking Memorial Day week off, but we will be back in 2 weeks. We will see you then.
Thank you, Dr. Lopkin. Take care.